Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to 168 Hours, your weekly roundup of the top local stories. I'm Hafiz Abdul Sattar, your host for the evening. Stay tuned. Parliament passes the necessary legislative amendment to implement a generational tobacco ban, prohibiting the sale, purchase and use of tobacco products for individuals born on or after 1st January 2007.
The legislative amendment to the Tobacco Control Act, moved by ruling party lawmaker Ali Ashraq, was reviewed by a 7-member temporary committee which had recommended only minor changes. The amendment to implement the historic generational ban was backed by 63 lawmakers out of the 65 who voted during Tuesday's sitting. The amendment, if ratified by President Dr. Muiz, will see the new legislation come into force from the 1st of November. The amendment, developed in consultation with the Cabinet, targets individuals born from the 1st of January 2007 onwards, extending the prohibition to future generations. Approximately 30% of the current population falls within this age group, a demographic significance that President Dr. Muiz had highlighted as central to the measure. He said the rationale for the ban is firmly rooted in public health concerns, with the potential to significantly improve national well-being by preventing a substantial portion of the population from adopting tobacco use. The legislative amendment, once in effect, would mandate sellers of tobacco products to verify the age of customers through an official identification. Sellers will be penalized for any violations. The government has been taking landmark steps against tobacco use. One of the biggest measures was to increase the duty on imported cigarettes and the nationwide ban on use and sale of vape products. The new amendment would ban the import and use of rolling tobacco machines and related items. It will also give police the authority to confiscate vape products and electronic cigarettes.
President Dr. Mohammad Muiz reveals plans to move the necessary legislation next month on holding a public referendum to revise the electoral process in holding the presidential and parliamentary elections concurrently.
Speaking during the 6th episode of the Rai Thunna Eco podcast, the president emphasized that genuine public empowerment can only be achieved when the authority to remove elected officials from office rests with the people themselves. He stressed that there is no need to replicate the systems of other countries. Instead, the Maldives can strengthen democratic power in a manner that boosts public confidence. The president pointed out that only a 6-month period divides the presidential and parliamentary elections, highlighting the potential benefits of holding the two main elections concurrently, particularly for a country like the Maldives. He also expressed support for the introduction of a preferential voting system for presidential elections. He stated that this reform could eliminate the need for a second round of voting, thereby reducing costs and increasing efficiency. However, he added that the implementation of such a system would follow thorough research and public consultation. According to the president, this change would encourage greater citizen participation and enhance the likelihood of electing a candidate with broad public support. During the podcast, the president also shared his vision to limit the growth in the number of members of parliament. He pointed out that parliamentary seats are currently allocated based on population ratios, and while representation is essential in a democracy, it is equally important to maintain a practical and manageable parliament. As such, he proposed a legal amendment to cap the number of MPs at the current figure of 93. The president also discussed planned revisions to the eligibility criteria for candidates contesting elections to councils and women's development committees. He stated that the government intends to restructure atoll councils by setting a composition of 3 members for populations under 2,000 and 5 members for populations exceeding 2,000. Additionally, to ensure that funds allocated to councils are utilized effectively and in the best interests of local communities, the Ministry of Finance and Planning will be engaged to assess and monitor their use. On all these matters, the president reiterated that public opinion will remain central to decision-making. He affirmed that no decision will be made unilaterally, and all major changes will be subject to the public consultation and, where appropriate, referenda. He underscored the importance of inclusive governance in securing the long-term development of the nation.
President Dr. Muhammad Muiz, in a National Children's Day address, reaffirms the urgent need to safeguard Maldivian children from harmful influences, describing their upbringing as the greatest assurance for a prosperous future. He characterized children as the delight of our eyes and the comfort of our souls, underscoring their fundamental role in shaping the nation's destiny.
Marking the significance of the occasion, the President called for a collective resolve to protect children from negativity, describing Children's Day as a moment that connects the nation's present joy with its hopes for tomorrow. He pointed out that children comprise 1/4 of the Maldivian population and, in time, will assume the responsibility of leading the country. Their development into a capable generation, one that safeguards Maldivian sovereignty, dignity, and cultural identity, is a national duty, he asserted. Referencing the teachings of the noble Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, President Muiz stressed the purity with which every child is born and the role of guardians in shaping their character and beliefs. Children inherently embody innocence and sincerity with their nature, he started. They perceive adults as protectors, mentors, and supporters, always remaining receptive to the wisdom of the elders. Their behavior often mirrors the actions and examples set by those around them. Beyond protecting children from harmful influences, the President highlighted the importance of fostering a society built on mutual respect and good manners, whether at home or in public spaces. He called for an education system that equips children with the skills needed for the modern era, ensuring they are prepared to carry forward the nation's legacy as patriotic Maldivian Muslim youth. Turning his message directly to children, President Muiz urged them to recognize the value of their formative years. He encouraged them to dedicate every day to acquiring knowledge and striving for personal growth. He reminded them of their religious duties, the significance of Maldivian traditions, and the need to cultivate a profound love for their country, akin to the love they have for their mother. He also cautioned against wasting time, stressed the importance of healthy habits, and reinforced the need to respect and obedience. Reaffirming his commitment to the younger generation, President Muiz declared that children are the embodiment of the Maldives' future, with their growth and success determining the nation's path forward.
President Dr. Muhammad Muiz stresses the urgency of preparing children to navigate the sweeping transformations reshaping the world, warning that their ability to adapt will be crucial to the long-term stability of the Maldives. In a statement on National Children's Day, observed on 10th May, the President stressed that today's children will define the nation's future and must be empowered to meet the evolving challenges ahead.
In his statement posted on social media, President Muiz extended his best wishes to children and their families, calling for a concerted national effort to strengthen the next generation's resilience. He likened the task to steering a nation through uncharted waters, arguing that the foundations of future leadership must be laid now. The theme of this year's National Children's Day, Happy Relationships, Happy Moments, Happy Children, underscores the profound role of parental involvement in child development. The theme highlights the lasting impact of meaningful engagement and notes that children will thrive when surrounded by love and encouragement. It stresses that strong familial bonds not only shape character but also provide the emotional stability and support necessary for social and psychological well-being. Ensuring this foundation remains a priority for the government of President Muiz, which continues to implement initiatives aimed at creating a secure and nurturing environment for children. Programs focused on safeguarding their rights, enhancing their welfare, and fostering holistic development remain central to national policy.
President Dr. Muhammad Muiz has defined eradication of corruption as one of the primary objectives of digitalization. He made the statement in his remarks at the inaugural session of the Maldives 2.0 Transformation Summit.
Addressing the function held at Barcelona Sandra Male, the President shed light on the importance of combating corruption in the unified efforts toward becoming a developed nation. The President expressed gratitude to the government of Estonia, recognized for its successful digital transformation, for supporting the Maldives' efforts towards a similar future. The President emphasized that digitalization could fight corruption through enhanced transparency. He also referred to efforts to establish a unified, interoperable identity system enabling citizens to seamlessly access public and private services backed by strengthened and national cybersecurity architecture. Attributing Estonia's climb to the second place on the 2025 WordPress Freedom Index to the success of its digital transformation, the president expressed hope that the Maldivian experience would allow similar accomplishments through the responsible and speedy information dissemination. At the function, the president highlighted the administration's efforts towards achieving holistic, meaningful, and sustainable development. Reinforcing the emphasis on a good governance, the president announced the goal of transforming the workforce to digitalization in such a manner that 2028 a third of workforce would be employed remotely. In conclusion, the president called for universal support and cooperation in the government's efforts against corruption and urged acceptance in the efforts towards a digital transformation. He assured the relevant legal framework is under construction.
President Dr. Mohamed Muiz has instructed the country's national bank, Bank of Maldives BML, to increase the foreign transaction limit on debit cards issued by the bank to $2,000 for locals performing the Hajj pilgrimage this year.
President Dr. Muiz announced this initiative through a social media post, highlighting that the enhanced transaction limit will significantly benefit Hajj pilgrims undertaking their pilgrimage this year. President Dr. Muiz revealed that he had petitioned the BML to raise the foreign transaction limit on debit cards for Hajj pilgrims to $1,750. This increase is in addition to the existing limit available to BML customers, according to the president. At present, BML provides a foreign transaction limit of $250 on debit cards. Under Dr. Muiz's directive, the limit for this year's Hajj pilgrims will rise to $2,000. The increased transaction limit will be available at the official exchange rate of 15.42 Maldivian rupiah. President Dr. Muiz earlier this year had facilitated the increase of foreign transaction limit on debit cards to $1,500 for Umrah pilgrims during the holy month of Ramadan in March. This decision follows the enactment of the Foreign Currency Act or Forex Act earlier this year. The newly implemented legislation mandates that companies generating foreign revenue, including those in the tourism sector, exchange a portion of their earnings through local banks, ensuring improved regulation and control. The initiative to increase the foreign transaction limit for Hajj and Umrah pilgrims aligns with President Dr. Muiz's announcement of plans to double the amount of US dollars available to Maldivians traveling abroad from Vilhena International Airport or VIA during the first quarter of 2026. Currently, BML provides $500 per local passengers departing from VIA. The administration aims to increase this amount to $1,000 by early 2026 and subsequently raise credit card limits to $1,400 by the second quarter of the same year, according to Dr. Muiz.
The Government of India sanctions the State Bank of India SBI to roll over a treasury bill issued by the Maldives government worth $50 million for another year is much needed financial support to the island nation. The High Commission of India to the Maldives in a statement said on the request of the Maldives government, SBI has subscribed for one more year the treasury bill worth $50 million.
According to this statement, the Indian government has been facilitating the subscription of several of such treasury bills by the SBI and rolling them over annually, interest-free to the Maldivian government. The High Commission said that this was done under a unique government-to-government arrangement, as emergency financial support to the Maldives. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Abdullah Halil in a post on X thanked his Indian counterpart, Dr. S. Jaishankar, and the Indian government for the continued assistance. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs through a statement said India has granted a one-year extension to the $50 million treasury bill, which matured on 12th May through the SBI. Since March 2019, the Government of India has extended several such treasury bills through SBI without interest. In addition to rollovers of the T-bills, the Indian government has also arranged a currency swap facility to improve Maldives' state reserves. The Indian government in September last year had facilitated the rollover of another $50 million T-bill, which will now mature in September 2025.
Maldives is making significant progress in reducing carbon emissions. says Minister of Tourism and Environment Tariq Ibrahim, highlighting key renewable energy investments and support from China in tackling climate change.
Minister of Tourism and Environment Tariq Ibrahim has said that Maldives is making great strides towards the successful implementation of measures to curb carbon emissions. Speaking during the International Zero Carbon Islands and Green Low Carbon Development Conference on Monday, Minister Tariq alluded to measures being taken to adapt to climate change and reduce carbon emissions. The minister also said that the government is aiming to reduce carbon emissions to 1.52 million tonnes this year. The effort to enhance the use of renewable energy sources are paving the way to achieving the target of reducing carbon emissions, he added. Minister Tariq further said solar energy systems are being installed in different parts of the country. He said the government will invest even more into this. He added that they are working on identifying more measures that can be taken to reduce toxic emissions. The Low Carbon Development Conference is a joint collaborative between China and Maldives to increase the use of renewable energy and reduce emissions. China has provided training opportunities to Maldives in this field while making special efforts to help the island nation reduce carbon emissions. China has also provided opportunities to study in renewable energy-related fields with tuition, accommodation, and travel expenses covered by the Chinese government. The government has launched several initiatives for renewable energy and sustainable waste management in a bid to preserve Maldives' fragile environment and ecosystem. The administration of President Dr. Mohammad Muiz had announced bold yet long overdue plans to address the issues, launching several key initiatives last year. In the beginning of 2024, the total installed capacity of renewable energy was 53 megawatts, which amounted to just 4% of energy consumption in the island nation. However, this administration has aimed to turn that figure to 33% over the course of the next 5 years. Under these plans, the government has managed to add 15 megawatts of renewable energy, taking the total up to 70% in just 1 year.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs reveals that Maldives High Commission in Pakistan has been in touch with Maldivians in Pakistan and is continuing to monitor developments closely amid the ongoing conflict with neighbor India. Nearly 50 people have perished, mainly in Pakistan, since India launched airstrikes on Wednesday targeting terrorist camps and sparking the worst clashes between the neighbors in decades. Pakistan has largely closed its airspace for commercial flights as major airlines operating in the region have either rerouted or cancelled hundreds of flights.
The Maldivian Foreign Ministry in a statement said the High Commission of Maldives in Pakistan has been in touch with Maldivian students and is doing everything it can to ensure their safety and well-being. The statement comes amid concerned families of some students seeking the government's assistance in bringing them home. The ministry assured that if the situation in Pakistan deteriorates further, it will provide assistance to Maldivians in Pakistan, adding that educational institutions and offices in Pakistan remain open and the situation on the ground is presently normal. The ministry has urged Maldivians in Pakistan to comply with local laws and instructions of the Pakistani government. Any Maldivian in Pakistan in need of assistance has been instructed to contact the hotline of either the High Commission or the ministry directly. The strikes on Wednesday came 2 weeks after New Delhi blamed Islamabad for backing an attack on tourists in the Indian-administered side of disputed Kashmir, a charge Pakistan denies. The arch rivals have since exchanged drones and missiles, as well as artillery fire across their contested border in Kashmir. The violence has raised fears of a wider conflict between the neighbors.
A luxury resort under development in the Maldives pledges to plant 1.4 million trees as part of a national environmental program and will establish a 6.5 megawatt solar farm to generate 1/3 of its energy needs. The commitments were formalized in an agreement signed by Royal Resorts, a subsidiary of a Qatar-based Istimar Holdings and the developer of Rosewood Ramfaru, with the Ministry of Tourism and Environment. Slated to open in 2027, the resort will mark Hong Kong-based Rosewood Hotels and Resorts' first venture in the Maldives.
The agreement positions the resort as a key participant in the 5 million tree planting program and underscores its alignment with the Maldives' renewable energy policy. Developed on reclaimed land within a lagoon in Malé Atoll, Rosewood Ranfanu has committed to these sustainability goals during an official visit by Tourism and Environment Minister Tariq Ibrahim. During the signing ceremony, Minister Tariq represented the government while Project Director Hussein Ali Sinan signed on behalf of the contractor overseeing the resort's construction. As part of his visit, the minister formally launched the resort's tree planting initiative, reinforcing the government's call for resort developers to integrate sustainable practices into their projects. With 1.4 million trees set to be planted as part of the resort's development, the initiative is expected to play a significant role in the broader push for environmental conservation. Minister Tariq highlighted the critical role of resorts in greening reclaimed islands, improving waste management, and integrating renewable energy solutions, measures that align closely with the Maldives' long-term sustainability agenda. The resort's renewable energy commitment is equally ambitious. A solar farm capable of generating 33% of the resort's electricity is central to its clean energy strategy, reinforcing the government's focus on reducing dependency on traditional energy sources. During remarks following the signing, Minister Tariq urged resort developers to embrace sustainability efforts, calling for stronger participation in environmental programs that support the Maldives' broader conservation efforts. The call comes as the ministry accelerates plans to plant 5.2 million trees nationwide, with more than 500,000 trees already planted this year and a target of 2 million set for completion by 2025. Since assuming office, Minister Tariq has made frequent visits to resort developments, aiming to expedite openings and address construction challenges. The government has placed particular emphasis on accelerating resort launches, positioning the operationalization of the unlaunched properties as a top priority in its tourism development strategy.
The government introduces amendments to the Civil Aviation Authority Act, seeking to impose stricter conflict of interest regulations for board members and redefine the framework for civil air transport policy. The proposed revisions presented to Parliament aim to align existing legislation with the forthcoming Civil Aviation Bill, a comprehensive effort to modernize aviation governance.
The Civil Aviation Authority Act establishes and regulates the Maldives Civil Aviation Authority, or CAA, the entity responsible for overseeing civil aviation in the country. The amendments, submitted on behalf of the government by Member of Parliament Muhammad Fazil, who represents Dandu, are designed to strengthen regulatory oversight and enhance enforcement mechanisms in line with contemporary aviation standards. A key provision in the proposed legislation addresses eligibility criteria for CAA board membership. Under current law, individuals are disqualified from serving on the board if they hold more than a 5% share, either personally through an appointed representative or via a company in which they have shares, in an entity providing civil air transport services or operating under aviation regulations. The revised framework eliminates the percentage threshold altogether. Under the new rules, any individual with any interest or shareholding in a legal entity providing civil air transport services or regulated by the CAA would be barred from board membership. The amendments also propose a structural change in policy oversight. Under existing law, the minister is responsible for setting civil air transport policy, with the CAA required to act in accordance with ministerial directives unless instructed otherwise. The new legislation removes these provisions. Beyond governance reforms, the bill also seeks to improve operational efficiency. Under current regulations, if the chief executive submits a matter requiring swift resolution, the board must convene and issue a decision within 5 days. The proposed amendment shortens this time frame to 3 days, allowing for quicker responses to urgent issues. If enacted, the amendments will take effect upon parliamentary approval, ratification, and publication in the Government Gazette.
The Parliament votes to remove 2 Supreme Court justices following findings by the Judicial Service Commission (JSC) regarding their conduct. The dismissed Justices Dr. Azmiralda Zahir and Mahaz Ali Zahir were accused of improperly influencing lower court proceedings.
The decision was reached in separate votes during a parliamentary session on Wednesday, with each removal approved by 68 members. The process followed a determination by the JSC, which under the Constitution is authorized to recommend the removal of a judge if it finds the individual incapable of holding office or guilty of misconduct. The Parliament's Judiciary Committee reviewed the JSC's report and found no procedural irregularities in the removal process. Its findings aligned with the JSC's conclusions, affirming that all necessary procedures had been followed in assessing the judge's conduct. Central to the disciplinary action were allegations that the two justices had improperly influenced lower court judges in relation to the detention of Dr. Ismail Latif, the husband of Justice Azmiralda. Latif was taken into police custody on the 4th of April 2025. The JSC determined that Justices Azmiralda and Mahaz had exerted influence through criminal court judge Safat Habib on Judge Ibrahim Zihuni, who was presiding over Latif's detention case in the criminal court. The Commission's investigation concluded that the actions of the two judges violated the Constitution, the Judicature Act, and the Code of Conduct for Judges. Based on these findings, the JSC recommended that Parliament take action regarding their positions in accordance with judicial disciplinary laws. During parliamentary deliberations, several members voiced support for the Judiciary Committee's findings, asserting that the influence exerted by the justices had been substantiated. Under the Constitution, a judge may only be removed if the decision is passed by a two-thirds majority of members present and voting. The removal of both Justice Azmiralda and Justice Mahaz met this threshold, with each receiving 68 votes in favor.
And that's all we have for this week's 168 Hours. Stay tuned for more updates of our weekly program 168 next week.